Hey everybody. Let's suppose you've got a data set of categorical variables. What can you do with such a data set? Well, frankly, with categorical variables, there's not too much you can do, but you can count the frequency of occurrences of something. I've got an example right in front of us, a little Excel spreadsheet with a hypothetical data set. I've asked a group of 50 students what their favorite video game is. And they were limited to a small subset of all the video games. You can see some of them here. We've got Assassin's Creed and Madden, Grand Theft Auto, and there should be one other one somewhere. Call of Duty, there it is. So, we might want to know, like, how many people like Assassin's Creed, how many people like Madden, how many people like the other ones as well. So we might want to know the count of something, and we can do that in Excel very easily using a pivot table. Well, it turns out it's only a couple mouse clicks away from turning a table of frequencies into a table of relative frequencies. Relative frequency is just like fancy statistical jargon for a percent. So let's just work through a very quick example of how to calculate percents or relative frequencies using Excel. All right, so let's insert something. We're going to insert a pivot table. And the first thing I need to tell it is, like, where is my data? Where in this entire worksheet? And I can just highlight all of my data, just drag and drop with my mouse there, like click and pull. And then it's going to ask us, where do you want me to place this new table that Excel is going to construct, this table of frequencies? It can either create a brand new worksheet, or it can populate the screen here, this particular worksheet. And I'm fine with that. Let's use the existing worksheet. Next thing it wants to know is, all right, where on this worksheet do you want me to put this table? And I'm just going to click on my mouse right there, and then on any old cell, and it populates that with here. It's going to start this table on cell D3. So it will have a little table that fills this area right here. All right, we just click OK, and we get an empty table. So we still haven't quite told it what we want in the table, but we know it has something to do with this column of stuff. But we just need to be a little bit more specific. What things need to go into this table? Right now it's just a blank table. We only highlighted one column, so really there's only one option for us. We just got to tell it which column to work with, and that's the video games column. I should point out, by the way, that Excel is always going to treat that very top cell, that first cell, as a header. So make sure you have one in there. If your data set doesn't have a header, put one in. Copy paste all your data down by one cell, throw in a header, and then do everything. Otherwise, your counts are going to be off by one, because it's going to presume that very first value, which happens to be data, it's going to think it's a header. Anyway, we do have a header here, so we don't need to make any adjustments. We just select video games, and then immediately right now, two things happen. It goes through this data set here, this column of data, and it sees that there's only 4 values that pop up, only 4 video games. The second thing is it shows up right here in rows, because it's got all of these things in different rows. Now, next to that, I want to have counts or percents. So I need to have not just rows, but I need another column. And so we can put that right here, this values thing. Basically, it wants to know, what am I calculating? So we're going to drag and drop video games here as well. Now, there really isn't much you can do with categorical data. Counting the frequency of stuff is kind of like the obvious thing. And so Excel goes, ooh, is this what you wanted? A count? And you might for some homework assignments, but for this example, we want a relative frequency. You want a percent, not a count. So we need to make an adjustment, and that's really simple. We're going to go down here to this drop-down menu and select it, and then go to Value Field Settings. Your menu may look slightly different from mine, but it should say something like Value Field Settings. And here you can tell it what are the things you could do, right? Counting is pretty obvious. We don't see a percent here for some weird reason. Thank you very much, Microsoft. But if you go to show values as, then we've got some other options. So you click on that tab, and then this drop-down menu, and then it says, oh, you want a percent. And it gives you all these different options, and they all pretty much do the same thing. So I'm just going to select percent of the grand total. Because what's going on here, right? Like, let's do this by hand first. The grand total number of observations is 50. So what percent of my students like Assassin's Creed? It's 5 out of 50, so I should get a 10% there, right? And how about Madden? 20 out of 50 students like Madden, so 20 out of 50 is 40%. So that's what I would like, not just counts, but I want the percents. And filling in some blanks here, you can tell this is an artificial data set because everything works out nice and tidy. This is what I really wanted, not the counts. I wanted the percent of the grand total. So that's what we're going to select. So anyway, so you go back here, click on anywhere in this table, and this little pivot field thing pops back up. We select it, value field settings, show values as, drop down, and then we go percent of grand total. I'm going to click OK, and that's it. It's done. It gave us 10% when we knew we wanted 10%, and 20, 30, 40 when that's what we knew we were supposed to get. So we've now calculated relative frequencies. We can get rid of our scratch work, and if you want, you can change decimals and things like that to make it nicer to read, but that's all just formatting. All right, so that's it. Relative frequency tables, really straightforward in Excel.